In the previous video, we looked at how an individual can make an interpretation of a case and see how that interpretation compared with what the creator said is the correct answer. There were also some teaching points involved after the interpretation was made. I'd now like to turn the attention to looking at the interpretation results of the whole group and also give the individual an opportunity to see how he or she compared with the group and his peers. Here's the same case that we looked at just earlier. Just to refresh your memory, this is a case of a bicuspid aortic valve with a mild aortic regurgitation and a mildly dilated proximal aorta. And again, these are the images, the 9 images that were available for that interpretation. All right, now what we want to do is look at the results of this interpretation. So we go now to the results option, and we again could either look at just my results, which I've already just looked at, or the administrator could want to look at how a specific person results were. But let's look at the group, which is the summary. And we're looking at, by the way, while we've got this, gives you a little idea of all the ways we use test and teach at our institution and for how long. It's a major component to our entire program, both from a quality point of view and a teaching point of view. So let's go to the interpretation, and it happens to be interpretation case 1. And we're not going to look at the measurements. We're going to look at the summary of the interpretations. Now we know what the answer is supposed to be. Here are the creator's answers. Again, highlight the mild aortic regurgitation, the mildly dilated aorta, and the bicuspid aortic valve. Those are the essentials. The rest are all normals. So let's look at the outliers. These are the people who didn't get it right. Well, there turns out of a total, and there were a total of 13 people who did this exam, there were 4 people who did not identify the bicuspid valve. Now these are our fellows who did it, and this is obviously a hodgepodge. Some of the fellows are primarily interested in electrophysiology, etc. But the fact is, we expect all of our fellows, no matter what they do, all our cardiology fellows, to be very competent in echocardiography. The ability to identify a bicuspid valve would be included in that. And so there are 4 that didn't. Now, there were actually even 9 that didn't recognize the dilated aorta. Now, that's also an example of finding the obvious and forgetting about the less obvious. It was a little bit more subtle, but anyway, it is important. And so 9 out of the group did not. And there were 3 who didn't even bother to mention aortic regurgitation, which is very obvious, and that may have just been an oversight. They may have concentrated on finding the bicuspid valve, and they forgot to put, and these are all common errors done in reading echocardiograms, and that's just unacceptable, and that's the learning. The simulation is based on the concept that you will remember that which you got wrong longer than that you got right, and our trainees learn a great deal from this type of examination, where they have the option of knowing they're wrong, and they know that I can see that they're wrong because it's in the records, and they can compare and know that they weren't as good as their peers.